Okay, what about now? I had to fix my microphone. Whenever I'm doing like screen recording stuff, even if I'm doing it like where it's just screen and it's like recording the audio, I still have to mute my actual microphone, or it's going to pick up like all the noise, like me typing and all the things. Okay, hi guys. Truth be told, snuck up in here. And Lynn became a member while I was working, so that is awesome. She is making me nervous, is what she's doing. Her blood pressure was acting up again today. She's actually at the emergency room right now because 3 different monitors told her that it was 180 something over 120 almost. And I was like, no, go now. So she's at an emergency room and they checked it there and it's like 145 over something. And so we're both really confuzzled because she showed me 3 different monitors. So that's wild. I don't know what's going on. I know it's got to do with her preeclampsia, but it's just wild. So, how many of you guys are seriously just curious as to how Brett Payne still has a job? Yay. I don't understand how he is still getting paid. I just don't. He made it more than clear that he relies heavily on like everybody else to do his job for him. She was in the hospital and it wasn't working. So they removed her from it and put her on, honestly, it's a heart failure med that they just put her on. Starts with a P. And yeah, so I don't know. They said it was supposed to only be like temporary until it got like to normal, and then they'd be able to like level her out. But she should be able to hold the baby tomorrow as long as like this ER visit goes well. That's why I keep looking over, because I'm like waiting for a text from her and my dad. It just sucks because we can't live close to family with our certain situations, so we literally are just like hours away. So I'm just like trying to keep track. Yeah. Yeah. I don't get it. No, because it seems like Maury, or Maori, however you say his name, is just as stupid. He didn't really have anything to say either. So I don't know. I just don't get it. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes. I was going to give it about 5 minutes before we started going over this tragedy of a case. And it's just wild. So let's see. Now, I don't know how to like remove myself and do all of the other things on here. So it's just going to stay where it's at with me like being right here. Hopefully this works right for y'all to be able to see everything. Yeah, I mean, one of her besties is a nurse, so she's keeping, you know, an eye on her and stuff. Yeah, it sucks. Especially during like these kinds of situations. It's crap, but yeah. He does. I don't know, even the feds, especially the feds. They need to be abolished. They are acting dumb. That's what makes me so mad though, because this is a huge, dumpster fire, exactly. And I just don't understand. Yeah. That's where like this needs to keep being like the focus, is the fact that we still have 4 people and 4 families that need justice regardless of what's going on. And the sad part is that the longer this has been going on, the more that it seems like if Bryan really isn't the guy, which it just isn't showing me that, they're just not showing me that at all. I don't know if, you know, Steve might have been right about this eventually being like a cold case, because they've destroyed the house. So, I mean, I don't really know. Yeah, I don't really know what else they could possibly do. Which is so stupid, because their jobs are like it's not going to save their jobs. Them trying to take up for some stupid federal agent, it's not going to save their positions. So I don't understand. I just don't get it. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the Fed's fault, but then again, is it really the Fed's fault, or is it the state's fault because they're so stupidly incompetent they can't do their own job, so they have to rely on everybody else? And it's not just Payne, it's like everybody. Because, I mean, look at their coroner. What was her name? Mabbitt or whatever? She's a dumbass. Sorry, not sorry. She's not there in the brain. The way this whole thing was conducted just makes legitimately no sense whatsoever. Like, at all. I don't understand. All right, let's see. Is this full screen any better? Izzy, see, I know that what's his face stepped down, but I honestly just didn't care to go and look and see who it was. I probably should though, because if this goes bad, then it's going to be this new police chief who ends up like taking over a new case. Oh, no. I don't know. I have no idea because they keep pushing back all this other stuff. 39? I mean, I guess it would just depend on how long he'd been in the field. But so far, anybody like from that department that's coming out here and talking, they don't seem to have that long like experience anyway. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and play this. Let it play my awesome little intro, and then we'll get started on this tragic scene here. Drop a 1 in the chat when I start playing this so that I can make sure that you guys can hear it. Okay, awesome.
Called Brett Payne.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Please come forward. Raise your right hand.
You solemnly swear that the testimony you give in this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and that's but the truth under penalty of perjury.
I do. All right. Thank you, sir. Please have a seat. And then when you're seated, please state your name and spell your last.
Name is Brett Payne, last spelled P-A-Y-N-E.
All right. Thank you, sir. Ms. Taylor.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
Will you tell us your occupation?
I am currently employed by the Moscow Police Department as the Detective Corporal.
What experience do you have prior to Moscow Police Department?
I was served in the military for 6 years. 3 of those were as a commissioned officer in the military police corps.
How long have you been with Moscow Police Department?
6 years.
We're here to talk about the case of state.
Some people thought she chuckled right there. I'm trying to get this to where I don't have to okay, maybe that'll be better. I need to be able to like go back and forth with it. I'm telling you guys, I'll get this 2-screen thing done like soon here, because so far I definitely can like see having 2 screens connected to this thing will be a hell of a lot easier. Okay. Yeah, some people thought she snickered right here when he said 6 years. And if she did, it wouldn't be surprising, because why the hell are you the lead detective on the most important case that's ever come across anyone in that area? Yeah.
A commissioned officer in the military police corps.
How long have you been with Moscow Police Department?
6 years.
We're here to talk about the case of the state of Idaho versus Bryan Kohberger. Have you worked on that case?
Yes, ma'am.
What is your role in that case?
I was assigned
Honestly, knowing what we know now about how he answers, I'm surprised he even said yes to remembering working on the case at all.
as the case agent for Moscow PD for that investigation.
Does case agent mean you're the person in charge?
Yes, ma'am.
If I called you the lead detective, would that be a term that's the same thing as person in charge and
Yes,
case
ma'am.
agent?
Ew.
Okay, thank
You saw that face he made? He's so full of himself, and he's like a total incomplete moron. It's
you. What were your general responsibilities as the lead detective in the case?
So when I became case agent, I was assigned to work the command post that was established at the Moscow Police Department, along with my partners in Iowa State Police and the FBI. We managed the command post and directed the general direction of local investigation.
Would that mean you would be a person to write warrants and affidavits in support of warrants?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you
write them, sure. Create them out of your own brain? No.
conduct or direct interviews?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you search for a suspect?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you the go-to person and the person in charge for evidence that would be brought into Moscow Police Department to support your case?
No, ma'am, I was not.
Who's in charge?
That would have been our evidence custodian.
As the lead,
Let me pause for a second. Do you guys remember It's probably been well over a year at this point. Do you guys remember whenever we had a document that was signed at the bottom by Judge where it said that the court had a problem with the chain of custody? Is the person responsible for said problem this person that he just mentioned as the evidence custodian? I'm wondering.
Detective, were you aware of the evidence that would be under the control of the evidence custodian?
Not entirely. I was made aware of basically the most pertinent evidence that was coming in, but was not aware of every single piece of evidence that was brought into those.
Okay. During the course of, I guess, the investigation from November 13th forward, was there videos that were collected, like a video canvas done of the community?
Yes, ma'am, there was.
Is that something you were involved in?
No, ma'am, I was not involved in the direct collection of those videos.
Who is responsible for the video collection?
That part I'm actually a little bit confused about. Again, just because most of us have watched this already, so we know some of the things this idiot says. Part of the end of this is him literally stating they went out and canvassed but didn't find anything that had Bryan on it. Okay, so now he's just saying that he wasn't a part of it. So were you or weren't you? When we get to that part, I'll stop it because I heard it today.
And knowing what videos exist.
So the way that worked was individual investigators who went out in the community and collected those videos, brought them back to the police department and provided them to our digital forensics office. And then they were later booked in through that channel.
So Mowry, is that what he's talking about? Would this be Mowry right here? Because Mowry's the one who stated that he had all of the footage handed to him and then didn't label it, didn't put it in chronological order, didn't do anything awesome with it to make it make any sense, just basically just threw it into a folder as it showed up, whether it be digital or not. So it's just so stupid. This is so stupid.
So the digital forensics office would be the responsible entity to receive these pieces of video surveillance. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. I would say it was a dropping off point for those pieces. Yes.
And who is that person?
That was a joint effort between Detective Mowry and several people within the FBI.
That's not what Mowry said, is it? I'm going to go back and get his testimony too and put it out here just by itself. I know that we did, that was the first live thing I did, right? I can't remember. But I know that he talked a lot about he didn't validate anything that was put into it to even see if it was really evidence or not. He just did whatever he wanted to willy-nilly. And again, just middleman for what? And he's saying that feds were involved in all of this. But the way that Mowry put it to me, from what I can remember, is that he was the one responsible for, again, putting it all together. And then the feds did whatever they did with it, which is not the same thing. Because regardless, he's not validating anything before he's handing it off. It's so stupid. So stupid.
Which people within the FBI?
I do not remember.
Liar.
Detective Payne, I'm asking because last week, Detective Mowry told us that he wasn't in charge of these videos. And I need to know where they are. Do you have any idea who the FBI agents are that were also in charge of this?
I think we could certainly find that out for you, yes, ma'am. I don't know off the top of my head.
Again, how do you not know someone who you apparently had conversations with, talked to for about a month and a half? In again, the most high profile case you've ever worked and will work in your entire life. And you can't answer any specifics. It's literally it never happened. And you were just on the outside watching and actually know shit about shit. Again, remind me how the hell this man is still getting paid a salary. I don't understand.
Okay, well, I'm going to need to do that. Let's talk a little bit about what surveillance is out there. These were cameras from different businesses. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am, as well as some private residences.
Let's focus on the businesses for just a minute. Those would be collected at main points in Moscow where you might find person of interest. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. We canvassed pretty much the entire city of Moscow looking for places that were willing to.
You heard him right. He said we. He said we after just saying a few minutes ago that he wasn't like part of it at all.
Or could provide us video.
And was it also important to think about
Yeah.
if somebody were to come into or leave Moscow, the kind of video cameras you might find on those areas?
Certainly, that's good.
And that would be the east-west road between Moscow and Pullman. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. Referring to SR 270/Pullman Road. They wanted that to refer to.
I know that as the Moscow Pullman Highway.
Yep.
I think that's the same thing, or Highway 8.
Works for me.
And that goes from Pullman out towards Troy and that area.
Mhm.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And also important in that video collection would be the north-south Highway 95, the north end of Moscow and the south part of Moscow. Is that
Yes, ma'am.
okay?
Mhm, 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 mhm.
And so you collected business videos or had that done, but who I need to talk to about this would be Detective Mallory or an unnamed FBI agent. Do I
Or
understand that?
the agents who were the officers, investigators who collected that specific video would have written reports, to the best of my knowledge, stating such that they collected video from X, Y, and Z. That would be the best person to speak to about that particular video.
So the beat cop, who was one of many going around and knocking on doors, is who he's putting it on. Not the lead investigator. No, little man syndrome. Mm-hmm. For shizzle. I mean, I know it's been a while since the case started, and a long time since basically their jobs were sort of to a point of being finished, right? When it comes to this, but how do you not know that you're about to be on the stand and you don't even refresh yourself? Is this how stupidly incompetent he is and all of them are for every court case they have to testify for? How are they able to lock anyone up ever with this kind of work that they do? And if this is what they're doing on, again, the most high profile case these idiots will ever see in their freaking lifetime and probably the lifetimes after, all right? What are they doing for normal cases that aren't this high profile, that don't have eyes on them? Is this how incompetent they are on a bigger scale because no one's watching those other cases? How many people have they put in jail that don't belong? Or just never locked anybody up whatsoever because they were too stupid to figure it out on their own? Not every case gets the feds involved. This whole police department just seems like they need to be completely overhauled. Every one of them. They need to go. They need to go. Yeah, that's what I said. That's my biggest thing. I mean, if it exists, yeah. And that's the problem that we find in here, is that his story is that according to him, everything that he knows that was taken was given to the prosecution. But then Xana's over there saying they don't got it. So this all again leads to Xana being a freaking liar. And he can't use the feds as the excuse this time because that's the local police department that's claiming they handed it over. So there's no TUI letter that's going to work for this situation, Xana. Where's the videos? Still in the editing? Because remember, they're piecing stuff together like Edward Scissorhands. I just don't understand it. Cut, paste, cut, paste, cut, paste. For what? I don't even know if I'm going to be able to trust anything we hear at trial. If this really does go to trial, I don't think I'll be able to even believe any audio that we hear, since now we've heard several times in court they're piecing together video and audio. How are we supposed to believe it? It's just as suspicious as Linda Lane at this point. I can't. There's no way.
But if they collected it and gave it to Moscow Police Department or the digital evidence people, isn't it your department that I'd be looking at to say, where is this now?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I'm going to talk about some of those specifics I'd be looking at to say, where is this now?
Yes, ma'am.
Collected it and
To the best of my knowledge, stating such that they collected video from X, Y, and Z. That would be the best person to speak to about that particular video.
but if they collected it and gave it to Moscow Police Department or the digital evidence people, isn't it your department that I'd be looking at and say, where is this now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yep, it's us, but I'm just too stupid to be able to know anything. I mean, at least he's admitting that part.
Well, I'm going to talk about some of those specific ones, but you brought up residential cameras in that canvas as well. Are you talking about things like Ring cameras?
Yes, ma'am. Ring cameras and other sources.
It doesn't. And that's why I don't understand why there's still channels that people are going super psycho lunatic on to this freaking day. Like literally right now, there's probably like a freaking 100 channels going live talking about Linda Lane right now. For real. They swear they're going to find something in it. And if there was anything admissible in it, it would not be doing what it was doing. They would have had to have come out and said something by now. They don't just allow admissible evidence to just be out there all willy-nilly without addressing it as such. There's just no way.
Of private security systems that people may have had.
Ring cameras have a way of sending out a notice to Ring camera owners to check their data. Is that right?
I believe so.
Was that?
And let me tell y'all something I learned. Okay. My mom is dealing with insanity when it comes to her and her recently deceased husband's house. Okay. His piece of crap sister, who has been just like disappeared for 20 years, decided to like show back up as soon as he got sick. And she's just doing the most. Okay. There was a lot of like really suspicious stuff that happened. And mom had to get on like the phone with Ring in order to find out what happened, because even though in your app, it might show that like your data from your Ring camera has already like re-recorded over, or the amount of stuff is like already gone. That's just for your account. Ring itself holds it for like a lot longer, and it's put in like a whole different type of storage thing to where they can pull it up, because the guy that my mom talked to on the phone was able to go way deep into the history and see all of the things that had already been erased from her app that she could see in her timeline. And he was able to send her screen recordings and all kinds of things from, again, way past the timeline that she could see on her personal device with her. So cool if they got Ring Cam, but I really wonder if any of them did any subpoenas for anything to actually go in and get like hard data, like hard coded data. Because if they just say, oh yeah, we went and nothing was there, I just don't believe that. Oh, there's my buddy. Hey, Chris. Thank you. Yeah, no, not just that. Do you guys remember when there was a few channels that swore they saw the entire scene like play out in the reflection of some back glass? Like how magically there was some like portal that showed the inside of the house through the reflection of somebody's window on their car in the parking lot. People went absolutely lunatic. Lunatic. Wild.
Done in this case?
I do not remember if that was done or not.
Are you familiar with some of the Ring cameras or home surveillance videos in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
In particular, I think your affidavit talked about one on Indian Hills Road. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Mhm.
How did that camera come to your attention?
I believe Detective Vargas works for MPD. She contacted the residents at that, or the person who lives at that residence.
Notice the she. Now, this is the part that I'm curious about because I don't remember, and I could be wrong. I don't recall him saying a name. He might, but I'm pretty positive that the original private investigator that the Goncalves hired was a female. Yeah. Yeah. We've discussed plenty. Yeah. Wild. Insanely insane. Insanely insane. And see, that's another thing that really like makes me mad is that they've not only shown their incompetence for anything like severe, but all they do is play tell the teacher with these kids. So these aren't even like real cops. They really are just like little glorified security guards. Because what do they really do that's cop worthy? Tell the drunk kid with a bottle of beer in his hand to go home 200 yards away? It's pretty much like all they do. It's just too much.
And they provided that.
back to what I was saying. The PI. I am curious as to how long, because I know there was like a fight that happened, right, between the Goncalveses and the private investigator that they originally hired. But I wonder how long that private investigator maybe continued working with the police, because it sounds like, and this is just me guessing, the female private investigator that was working with the Goncalveses is the one who got this footage. And that's kind of the same thing that we heard from like this whole time, that the PI and the Goncalveses got like most of the ring cam footage from the area, which is just stupidly not how that's supposed to go. The families should not have to work like they're full-time employees at the police department. Don't even get me started.
That camera footage to Detective Marcus.
Do you know why she contacted them?
I believe it was part of just a video canvas, best of my knowledge.
Now, I want to talk about some of the specific businesses, and you mentioned that I'd be looking at a police report to tell me if it existed or not. As the case manager or lead detective, are you familiar with the reports from other officers that may have talked about turning in videos?
Y'all are so mean. But honestly, I couldn't find a picture with him with the beard on. I mean, I didn't look too much. But I think maybe he knew he was going to have to be in front of a camera. He had to do something.
Of them, certainly not all of them.
Your Honor, I'm going to ask that he be handed two defendants' exhibits. They are RR and SS.
Mm-hmm.
No, thank you. One of the videos I want to talk about comes from the Red Star Coffee Company. Do you know where that business is located?
Yes, ma'am.
Where is it?
That's on Pullman Road and right next to the Steamer Station.
So the Pullman Road, that's also known as Moscow Pullman Road, but within the city of Moscow?
Correct.
Okay.
You can't tell my daughter otherwise. Okay. Since day one, prior to Bryan's arrest, after Bryan's arrest, before we started questioning the PCA, all the things, you cannot tell Ariel that Bethany and Dylan were not involved in some way, shape, or form to this day. You can't tell her otherwise. She don't give a damn what anybody says. There's a lot of people that think that. Somebody, right? Like at least one of them. It just makes no damn sense. The whole thing just makes no damn sense. It makes me sick. And it like makes me nervous to even like send my daughter off to school, and she's nervous to even go to school. And I'm like, I know this isn't normal, but then like how many more crazy ass college things have we been hearing, since this one? It's almost like I know that stuff has happened, right? But it's almost as if this one like kicked it off. Like all of a sudden there's colleges all over the country that are just having like massive things happening. Yeah, the witnesses who aren't witnesses because they like refuse to come back over state line. I just don't understand that. I mean, I've done videos about the subject, but maybe now that I'm doing lives, we might have a live discussion about the little roommates, because if you really cared, you'd be doing everything you could to make sure your friends got justice for their lives being lost. You wouldn't be being little coward little, okay? Especially if the right guy is behind bars. If Dylan really thinks those are the bushy eyebrows that she's seen, then why isn't she more wanting to do what she's supposed to do? Why is she still too scared to cross the line? That right there is like sketchy in itself. Even without all the rest of the stuff. Why don't you want your friends to get justice? Why don't you want to come and testify? Is he not the one you saw, Dylan?
And if you look at Exhibit RR, and if I can draw your attention to on page 2 to paragraph 9 and page 3, paragraph 9 continues over there.
He's reading. Like I'm telling you, he's looking at this stuff to me like he's never seen it before. Which he probably hasn't. Somebody else wrote it. Somebody else did it.
Based on your review of that, Am I correct in believing that the Red Star surveillance video was collected and given to Moscow Police Department?
It reads that way, yes, ma'am.
Where is it?
I do not know.
Who do I ask where it is?
That would be through the evidence custodian and MPD. That'd be my best direction for you.
So I need to go to the evidence custodian and ask him to bring all of the videos out so I can watch them all to see if that one exists.
Yes, ma'am.
But see, that doesn't make sense either. Or maybe I don't understand how it works. Here's a question. He says later on that everything video-wise that he knows of has been handed over to the state. Does that mean that it was just like check marked off on like a chart or some shit? Or does that mean that it's been physically already taken out of said evidence room and put into another evidence room because now it's part of the prosecution's case? I don't know how that works. Like, does it move to a different location or does it stay in the same evidence locker? Because if he's going to sit here and say that they handed everything over to the state and put all the blame on Xana for not handing it over to the defense, would it still be in the same evidence locker? Seems like that would be, right? But I don't know how this stuff works. I didn't get that far to like be in a building and see if stuff gets moved around and stuff. So I don't know.
How many hours of videotape do you think have been collected?
A lot.
Thousands?
Yes, easily.
Yeah, 51 terabytes of footage that doesn't show him through the window, not even a profile, no specific personalization on the vehicle to prove that it's his, no license plate read, no WSU student parking sticker, no nada. But 51 terabytes of evidence we're supposed to be worried about. Sure.
Detective Payne, I want to look at Defendant's Exhibit SS now. Don't put our away. I think we might go back there in just a minute. But SS, if I can draw your attention to paragraph 1.
Oh, he's reading again.
Okay.
Would I be correct in believing that I should be able to have a videotape from a place called Monday's Machine?
Yes, ma'am.
Where's Monday's Machine?
I don't know where Monday's Machine is, ma'am. It does not sound familiar to me.
But he's from that area, right? Like, shouldn't he still know what it is? Like, if he's been there for 6 years. And he should also have like heard this before because of the case. I love how he's just like brand new to like everything. So stupid.
Can you see the address that's also listed in paragraph 1?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yes, ma'am.
Does that help you know where Monday's Machine might be?
It'd be south of Moscow city limits if memory serves, but that's the best I can recall.
You don't know where this particular numbered address on South Main might be?
No, ma'am.
How? Mm-mm.
Well, let's go back to, let me ask you this. Who do I ask where that video is?
Restate what I did before is go through the evidence custodian at Moscow PD.
Let's go back to RR for a minute. And if you can turn with me to page 4. I'll draw your attention to paragraph number 21, particularly subparts B, C, D, and G. Do you see where I'm talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
And there, we're talking about 4 different businesses all within the city of Moscow. Is that right?
Shiny, huh?
That is correct.
And those are on Main Street in Moscow. Is that also right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And if I read the first sentence in that paragraph, am I correct in believing that Moscow Police Department should be in possession of all of those videos?
It reads that way. Yes, ma'am.
Where are they?
I would have to direct you to the video that have been turned into the evidence lab in Moscow PD.
No answers to shit. I don't understand this. How he just can't answer anything. No, Venus, they're not testifying, or they're refusing to testify. It's been a situation from the very beginning. That's why everyone is asking a million questions, because why would you not want to testify if they got the right guy? Yeah, they'll have to. They don't want to. I really hope that they you either come back and testify, honey, or you're going to go to jail. That's what they need to be doing, because that's just wild. To even give them this much leeway is just wild to me. If they were dudes, that would not be happening. Okay. If they were men, they would not have been even allowed to leave. Probably not even the freaking county. All right. Yeah. Subpoenas. They'd have to. They'd have to. But honestly, I would not be surprised if they let them do it through Zoom. Well, I really want to know if they did that, because we heard that they were supposed to do that, and then we never heard anything about if they actually did, and it's been over a year. I believe that was March of last year, right? Whenever we heard about the exculpatory stuff when it come to Bethany. But yeah, we haven't heard. They were supposed to, but we haven't heard. He died. I pressed the wrong button. He does. If you just sat here and watched this on mute, you would just know by looking at Judge's face that there is some stupid bullshit going on. This is probably the most confused and what the hell that I've seen him look this entire time. Because he just looks so I don't understand what's happening here. Which is still crazy to me, because again, this is the man who knows more of the IGG evidence than the defense does. And he's looking as confuzzled. So that's a problem.
I want to talk a little bit. I'm going to move from videos now, and I want to talk a little bit about affidavits and search warrants that you wrote.
Can I ask a question? You're not asking to admit these exhibits?
Your Honor, I haven't.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I haven't. The court has those in a pre-filing to put them
With these.
a little bit. I'm going to move from. I want to talk a little bit. I'm going to move from videos now, and I want to talk a little bit about affidavits and search warrants that you wrote.
Can I ask a question? You're not asking to admit these exhibits?
Your Honor, I haven't.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I haven't. The court has those in a pre-filing to put the court and counsel on notice of things we talk about. I'm not going to ask that these be admitted this way. Detective Payne didn't write them, but he's familiar with the content. So
that makes a lot of sense, actually. Because she's obviously something is going to be admitted. The way that she just said that doesn't make me think that they're not going to admit these, but she just said, I don't want them admitted this way because Payne did not write them. And I'm guessing she's only doing it that way because it's Payne testifying. So I have a feeling she's going to admit all of this stuff a different way for some reason, even though I don't think that it really wouldn't matter. But then again, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. So I don't think these are just going to go anywhere. And especially since it sounds like it's all bullcrap, it would kind of need to be put in evidence so that it could be part of the defense about how much bullcrap it is. Because seeing this much just incompetence, you would definitely want to be able to show all of that in court. Definitely.
added questions answered. Thank you. Let's talk about affidavits and search warrants for a minute. Did you author affidavits in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you use affidavits?
Did you author? Yes, ma'am. No, you didn't. To author means that you wrote it. And in normal person thinking, whenever you write something, you used your brain to put the words together. Yo damn self. You're not the author of shit. You copy and pasted a bunch of other people's stuff. You're like the pseudonym, bro. Ugh.
It's you authored in support of search warrants to obtain information that you wanted to take a look at.
Yes, ma'am.
And did you author the affidavit that was used for the arrest warrant for Bryan Kohberger?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you rely on when you wrote these affidavits?
Be more specific.
Yes, let's focus.
Did he just tell her to be more specific about a very freaking specific question? How much more specific does she need to get when she says, what did you rely on to write the PCA? That means in your brain, Mr. Payne, Mr. Clean, all right, you sit there and you remember everyone that you talked to, every report that you were handed, and every bit of information that you took and then put over to her. What you mean, be more specific? What are you, freaking 10 years old?
On the affidavit for the AT&T records, there were 2 search warrants on December 23rd, 2022. Are you with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let's talk about those search warrants and the affidavit. First, the affidavit. What did you rely on in the affidavit you wrote for the first AT&T search warrant on December 23rd, 2022?
It was a conglomerate of interviews, data received from cell phones, my observations of some surveillance footage that was taking place.
His observance of some surveillance footage? That would have to be like Bryan in Pennsylvania. Because they damn sure were not surveilling him before he left. I don't give a damn what they try to say. We already know that.
Various other things go down the line. If you could be more specific on specific parts, I'd be happy to tell you what I'd like.
Be more specific.
Okay.
Okay. I feel her just exhaustion trying to have a normal adult conversation with this absolute buffoon. Or as my 6-year-old says, this absolute tater tot. Like, this dude is dumb.
There was a part of the affidavit where you talked about WSU officers identifying white Elantras.
Yes, ma'am.
And there was a part of the affidavit where you talked about 2011 to 2013 Elantras, and then it expanded to 2016 to include the year of 2016.
And that was a Fed, right? Like, wasn't the expert who got the year wrong and then changed it up, was that also a Fed? So just like all of them are stupid. All of them. What is happening? This is just so sad. And I mean, like, I've heard this at least like a couple times. I recorded it for the posting yesterday, but I don't really get to like listen to too much of it, like, because I'm working while I'm doing like the screen recording stuff, so I'm not paying attention to it. But even the parts that I've heard multiple times are just still like so shocking. It's just so shocking how stupid.
Yes, ma'am.
What I want to know first is what you relied on to expand that search from 2013 to include 14, 15, and 16.
That information was provided to FBI Special Agent Imel. He's a vehicle identification specialist.
That guy.
He used snapshots from the previously mentioned surveillance videos, and that was his determination on the types of vehicles we should be looking for, rather the year range we should look for. It would be in his report, we'd be more specific, but that was what I based the affidavit off of. That report.
Oh, whatever. Why did they never give us a still shot? They have 51 terabytes of a car on video. And even after the feds changed the date range, they still never gave us a still shot of the actual car. They came out here and gave us stock photos. That stock photo is telling enough to let the person know if they really are the person. Because you have to think about it like this, okay? Bryan wasn't trying to really like run away too much, because this whole trip had been way planned according to the lawyer. Now, the lawyer could be lying. The PA lawyer. Could be. I don't know. But considering this all happened on like scheduled school vacations and stuff, it probably was very much planned out for them to do this whole thing because he had been away for the first time, right? So it's not like he was trying to hide the vehicle that he was driving around in after the word came out. And they still did not show us still shot from actual footage. They've done that in how many other cases? When they want you to look at something specific, especially whenever it involves a death. Why didn't we get that? And a lot of people question, why didn't we ever get like a face thing, like a sketch? I mean, I know there's like 4 different ones in the Delphi case that none of them even look like they're the same person because they're not, right? But how come we never got like a mask and some bushy eyebrows drawn out on a piece of paper? Here, this is what Dylan says she saw. Instead of, oh, we have this description. You didn't give us nothing. I don't understand. There's so many very specific things they could have given us that they didn't. Which is why I question, like, how legit is it really? If you couldn't give us still shots, if you couldn't give us a face sketch, like, how am I supposed to believe you? You didn't even really give us what you were really looking for. You gave us a bunch of roundabout boo-boo. And then you didn't even tell us what Dylan saw until after you even arrested Bryan. So we really would have had like no clue what we were looking for. They weren't even trying. No rewards either. They weren't even trying. They weren't even trying. I don't get it.
Portion of it.
I understand as far as when we get to 2013, but when we go beyond that, what did you rely on to get beyond that?
It would have been his input as an expert in vehicle identification. That's what we relied on.
We relied on the expert that already got it wrong first time. I really hope that he does not come to trial like this. Study. I mean, you could have skimmed through the case file. This dude, it's literally like he didn't even work it. I don't get it.
Part of your affidavit talks about WSU officers finding vital doctrines.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe there was an officer that you had some communication with.
Mm-hmm.
Do you recall the date you had that communication?
I do not recall the date.
Did you have some messaging system exchange with this officer to talk about that?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that the only means of communication you had with this officer?
No, ma'am. I believe I spoke to him on the telephone as well.
When you spoke to him on the telephone, how did that relate to the date of the message? Did you have some messaging system exchange with this officer?
I want to see if he said the one he talked to, because there's 2 of them. There's one that was in the office at WSU that saw the car in the thing, the registry or whatever. And then there was a separate officer that 30 minutes later went and like walked the parking lot at Steptoe. So I want to see if she mentions like which one.
Vital doctrines. And I believe there was an officer that you had some communication with. Do you recall the date you had that communication?
I do not recall the date.
Did you have some messaging system exchange with this officer to talk about that?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that the only means of communication you had with this officer?
No, ma'am. I believe I spoke to him on the telephone as well.
When you spoke to him on the telephone, how did that relate to the date of the messaging?
It would have likely been, if memory serves, it would likely been that same day.
Okay.
November 29th.
Does December 20th, 2022 sound familiar to you?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna go back a second again because we know damn well the PCA states that whole incident about them seeing the car was November 29th. So is she trying to say that they spoke on November 29th and then they spoke again on December 20th?
It would have likely been, if memory serves, it would likely been that same day.
Okay.
Same day.
The only, do you recall the date you had that communication?
I do more specific, but that was what I based the affidavit off of, that portion of it.
I understand as far as when we get to 2013, but when we go beyond that,
Bro, they are scary.
what did you rely on to get beyond that?
It would have been his input as an expert in vehicle identification. That's what
Went too far.
You had with this office. Messaging system exchange.
I do not recall the date.
Did you have some messaging system exchange with this officer to talk about that?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that the only means of communication you had with this officer?
No, ma'am. I believe I spoke to him on the telephone as well.
When you spoke to him on the telephone, how did that relate to the date of the messaging?
It would have likely been, if memory serves, it would likely been that same day.
Okay. Does December 20th, 2022 sound familiar to you?
Yes, ma'am.
And so this conversation with this officer from Washington, it related backwards to when he noticed an Elantra. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
But when he noticed it, you didn't know about that yet. Is that also correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so you don't know about him or talk to him until December 20th, 2022, correct?
Yes. That's correct.
And see, that's just wild to me. So what did they do on the 29th? Did they not like write up a report? Did they not call over to Moscow PD and be like, hey, might want to come check out this Elantra? Because I got into an argument, or not really an argument, but I was on somebody else's live having a discussion about the case. This man is a guilter. You might have been there for this. This was a while ago. And he said, oh yeah, there was probably a report written, but you know how tips work. They just get shoved into a pile and they get to it when they get to it. No, not whenever it's coming from a freaking cop. When it's coming from a law enforcement officer, it doesn't get just like shoved under a pile, sir. It gets looked at. It gets taken care of. So you're going to sit there and tell me that a whole freaking month went by and the two officers who looked over this car didn't say anything? Didn't call Moscow PD, didn't report it, didn't do nothing? I don't believe that. Now, something else might be stated coming in the next few minutes from this, but I don't remember. I don't remember. Yeah, I don't trust him. I'm not going to trust anything he says. Well, literally at all. If a tip is coming in from a cop, it's not just going to be thrown into a pile of paperwork. That's just not how that works.
In your affidavits, did you rely on cell phone information and cell phone location information?
That's what I said.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you work with cell phone records yourself?
No, ma'am.
Did you see cell phone records yourself?
Yes, ma'am. I did.
When was the first time you saw cell phone records that were attributed to Bryan Kohberger?
I do not remember what date that was.
Well, maybe you can give me an estimate. We know on the 20th, you're talking to WSU about an observation from a month before. And we know.
I understand what you mean, War Eagle, but it's not really just them. The WSU officers were not going to write this report down on a piece of paper. They were going to make phone calls. They were going to send emails. Like, you can't tell me that one cop that went over to Steptoe Apartments didn't take like a picture of the license plate, write it down, all the things. There's just no way that this was just written down on a report. And what did they do? Mail it? No.
So on December 23rd, you're asking for AT&T warrants for information. Can you narrow
That's
it
a
down?
yes.
Sorry, Judge.
That's a yes. You can, I just want to get the record. Yes.
Yes, that's
Okay,
correct.
thank you.
So between those 2 days,
At least the judge is like, hold on, let me make sure we get his answer on record. That's like the only good thing he's done here so far.
does that help you identify the first time you saw cell phone records related to Bryan Kohberger?
Memory serves, the first time I saw any cell phone records related to Bryan Kohberger was after we received the return from the
Did he? I'm gonna have to look at that. That's wild.
first search warrant.
Just to be sure I'm tracking with you, when you say the return from the first search warrant, we're talking about the first AT&T warrant.
Yes,
Is that right?
That's correct.
And in that warrant, you were seeking 48 hours worth of records. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So if I call those the 48-hour records, we'll both be on the same page.
Yep.
All right. You wrote your second AT&T warrant for a much longer period of phone records that same day, December 23rd, correct?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
How far ahead of that warrant did you see the records?
It would have been upon the receipt of the 48-hour records that came in from AT&T. Immediately after receiving those, I began writing that second section of the second AT&T warrant for the longer period. That makes sense.
Immediately. So someone who is too incompetent to do his own job, someone who is too stupid to write his own reports, and he's got to get his information from everybody else, got this information back from AT&T and just like that turned around after skimming through it the way he skimmed through everything on the stand, pretending to comprehend, and then instantly went to writing another one like he knew what the hell he was doing? Or did somebody else look over that report and tell him what to write? I want the truth. We're not getting it.
It does. So you get these records and you take a look at them and you start writing your warrant. Is that right?
The records were provided to FBI Special Agent Balance, who began deciphering them. I'm not an expert in cell phone records.
That was the next thing I was going to ask.
Okay, I'm going to stop this right here because I have a question. Who is following Daybell? Drop a 1. And for those of you who are following Daybell, what do you guys think of the federal agent that they just mentioned? Because I've heard he sounds competent. And we know that there's no bullshittery going on in that case because they're psycho and they're going to get everything they deserve. Okay. That we can't sit here and say that he's awesome at that case, but boo-boo in this case, right? This special agent Vance or Balance, whatever the frick his name is. He can't be good at one case and crap here. So those of you who have been following it, we got quite a few. I haven't. I mean, I know it. I know more than I want to know. But I didn't follow it from the very beginning. So when it comes to how he has testified, this Agent Valance guy, what do you guys who have been following the Daybell case think about him? Because we can't say, oh, he did an amazing job in the Daybell case. I've heard that from a lot of people, that Valance got on the stand. He sounded competent. He sounded like he knew what he was doing. I mean, we can't know what he's doing there and then not know what he's doing here, which is why I'm trying to figure it out. I guess I probably need to go and maybe watch just his testimony in the Chad Daybell situation to see if it's to see what he's like. I mean, in trial, just like he did for Daybell. He did. See? But sounding confident, I mean, idiots can sound confident. Confident and actually knowing what you're talking about are a little bit two different things. Did he sound like he knew what he really meant? Did he make sense? Did anybody have questions? Did you see anybody trying to argue anything that he was trying to put out there? Or does he really know his shit? That's the question. And it's frustrating because I don't understand all the crap. I just don't. It's just, I don't get it. I think so. I mean, he's a freak, so I'm hoping. Sorry, not sorry. No one looked confused. So he not only sounded like he knew what he meant, but he knows how to speak. That's good. I'll have to go over and like listen to his testimony myself to try to get like a feel for him. But that's going to be something that we definitely have to think about here, because all this ridiculous stuff, all of it is just so ridiculous. I just don't even know. Okay. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, see, yeah, that right there. It's very easy to sound confident whenever it's like black and white. There ain't nothing in between that you're going to be able to find to prove otherwise. That's true. That is true.
So, no, ma'am, I'm not. So, he was the one who was conveying that information to me, so I could understand what it was.
So do you get the records and then get them to him somehow?
Yes, ma'am.
The records do they go directly to Balance?
I do not recall what the distribution was on the return itself. I do not recall that.
Are you
If I remember correctly, it looked like for some of the warrants, there was like somebody else's name possibly on it, but also whited out. If I remember right. I'll probably end up going back and looking at the warrants after this to make sure.
you and Balance exchanging emails about these records?
No, ma'am. Not that I remember.
How did you get them to them?
We were co-located. At the time, Detective Balance was at the Moscow Police Department about 30 feet down the hallway.
Are the two of you exchanging text messaging during this time?
I do not remember if we texted during that time.
So they're working the case together and they don't email each other? So what'd you do? You printed them out and walked them down the hall? Sat down together holding hands and watching a computer screen? Like, I need some clarification, bro.
I may have a record that would refresh your memory. I'm certainly not seeking to have these admitted, but I'd like to hand him some records to see if we can refresh his memory.
Look at that shit. Watch. She goes to show her the records and Xana just looks farther off to the opposite direction. And watch.
He's admitted, but I'd like to hand him some records to.
As soon as it goes over there, look, there he goes, scooting away. Xana, be ashamed. Be ashamed. This is how he wants to go out. This is how he wants his last case of his entire career to go out. The report make you scared? I don't understand. You allergic to it? What's happening? Ridiculous.
Do you recognize what's been placed in front of you?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Okay. Does reading the content of some December 23rd messages refresh your recollection about participating in text messages with Nicholas Balance?
So 12/23.
It really does not, ma'am.
Will you look at, there's 3 separate stapled documents. Will you move that one and go to the next?
I would remember so much. I would remember who I talked to, when I talked to them, what we talked about, what their feeling was about stuff. I would remember. I don't understand. It's just absolutely stupid. I pulled the warrants up real quick. We're going to do this real fast. So this is the first one. I think this is just the Tower warrant, right? Because this is the one from Lawrence Mowry. And okay, see right here, I don't know what this means. I guess maybe it was just a continuation of this line. And they put it into evidence. Let me see this next one. Okay, so 1223. So yeah, that'd be what they were looking at right now. Like conversations around this situation. See if it says anything else about anybody else on here. Da-da-da-da-da-da. I don't think it shows anybody else's information. But see, then I don't understand why it says this one right here. It's like, it's literally like he just took it. Is it the exact same freaking thing? And that one says GPS coordinates. And this one don't say shit. But if, what's his face? Is this the right one? Yeah. If Payne is the one who's doing this freaking search warrant, then why is he using a paper that has Detective Maury on it? Like, shouldn't he have to write his own? That doesn't make sense. It's so stupid. You'd think he would have to like literally create a whole new paper. All right, let me see if there's a different one. Meta T-Mobile. Are those the only two for AT&T that we have? No. There was something else that they did in, I think it was in April. Because there was another warrant that they did. Again with Maury. And this was April 2023, which is why I questioned, what are they doing all these months afterwards? Huh. Interesting.
Next one.
Still on December 23rd?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you vaguely remember that exchange, the one at the top of the second.
Is that the one that starts with you identifying yourself?
No, man, it starts with the message says, group text for this weekend, Maria, Nick, Ed, Brett, and Darren.
Maria, Nick, Brett, and Darren?
You look at that third one.
Starts with the message says, group text for this weekend, Maria, Nick, Ed, Brett, and Darren.
Yep, there you go.
You look at that third one.
Stop it. Right there. So, who's a police officer named Darren? And who's Maria? Is Maria the private investigator? Is she a cop? I don't know. I have no idea who Maria is. Nick would be Valent. And then, of course, we have Brett, which is this idiot. Who's Darren? We know a Darren. Maria could be a... There is a cop? Okay, so it could be either one. I shall look it up in a bit. I mean, I know that's why I'm asking. I mean, Darren is not like too popular of a name. So for there to be a Darren in the Brent situation and then suddenly a Darren also in the feds or whatever would be a little bit strange because I don't know a Darren. I mean, that doesn't really mean anything, but it's a common name. Yeah, see, I don't know. Which one? Darren Duke? Is that a person? Here I go. There is a Corporal Darren Duke. Oh, you are right. You are right. So this is probably, oh, no. This is probably who this is. I mean, I don't know. There's no photo. I mean, I didn't go look for one, but there is a story in this local paper. Darren Duke. That's probably who he's talking about. See? That's why we talk about things, so that we can like get the conspiracy stuff over with ahead of time. So thank you. Thank you. Aurelio? That's the one from August? Interesting. More fake reading. Please stand by. He probably knows just as much as I do, which is like 0% of nothing. Seriously. I mean, he doesn't know shit about his own job. I highly doubt he knows anything about technology like that. Ah, the screen wasn't sharing. I'm over here just running my mouth. Hold on. Go back a few minutes.
On December 23rd, when you're getting these 2 warrants. Is that right?
If memory serves, that's correct.
Okay. Well, you told me that you're not the guy who understands how to interpret these records. Do you know anything about cell phone towers?
Very little, ma'am.
Okay.
At all. Nothing.
So when you wrote the second AT&T warrant, you have possession of Bryan Kohberger's call detail records or AT&T records, but you don't know what they mean, so you're relying on somebody else.
Yes, ma'am.
Who all did you rely on?
Mainly it was Special Agent Balance. He was my main point of contact for understanding what was going on.
Okay. In fact, in your affidavit for the second AT&T report, there's a couple of maps in there. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what you can call that scribble? Because that sure don't look like a map. And it's so funny because before this testimony where we found out that like it doesn't even like match up to anything, we kind of like already knew it didn't. Like there were a couple people who had pulled it up and tried to like edit it to try to see exactly what it was showing, and it wasn't even on like actual roads. It might have been Twizzle Stick. It might have been him that I first heard that from. That it was literally just like he just drew a squiggly U. It wasn't even on like a road itself. And for him to sit here and say, I immediately got the AT&T warrant and immediately turned around and wrote the second one, but you don't know a damn thing about what you're looking at? How do you immediately just turn around and write a second one and you were clueless? Oh, but we saw it. You know, he copy and pasted. So.
And one of them has some video camera information. That's the first map. Where did that come from?
I do not recall. If you have a copy of it, I can refresh my memory and tell you.
I bet I do.
Of course you do.
I have what we've marked defendants B.
Or fake reading.
Are you referring to there's 2 maps, the WSU focused map you're referring to? It's completely washed out on this copy. I can't.
Oh, please.
It's hard to see, isn't it? What I want to know is what you relied on to get that first one that talks about WSU and the cameras on WSU.
analyzing that video from WSU and the surrounding area. So it was a conversation between he and I, pointing out areas of locations where the car was likely seen on surveillance footage. And that's what I relied upon to create that map.
So you created that map.
Through PowerPoint, I believe, ma'am, memory serves.
You saved your work on that.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's go to the next map. That one would appear to be a trail or a path from south of Moscow back towards Lewiston or back towards Paul. Is that
Oh, so okay, so I guess there's two. Hold on, 1, 2, and then where's that sloppy boo-boo map? Right here. Okay. So there's actually like 3 little map thingies. So is that spelled wrong? That word don't look right. I think this is the one that she was just talking about because it shows like the roads and then arrows or cameras locations indicate vehicle direction of travel. This is the one they were just talking about right here. And you look how bullshit this is. Like, what is this? Like, seriously, this is the best they could have done? Wild. Wild. But now they're talking about this map right here that doesn't even align with actual roads. And I love how this is like acceptable. Possible. Possible. Meaning you don't know, you have no actual proof of any damn thing, nothing solid, nothing to stand on. Possible route based on how many other possible routes. Because there's roads all through there. All through there. I don't see how you can arrest someone on possibilities without concrete proof. I just don't understand. I don't understand at all.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you get that now?
Same thing. It was just created using open source satellite imagery, and I think it was PowerPoint.
Did you create that?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you get the information to draw that trail?
So that was used from the cell phone records referred to me by.
So you did this on some open source mapping, not anything from Nick Balance creating a visual for you.
No, ma'am. I did view a draft report from Special Agent Balance to help me conceptualize this, but it did not look like this map.
Why couldn't you just use the one that Valance gave you? If he's actively helping investigate the case, why are you sitting here trying to give an interpretation of what you were shown instead of just using what you were shown by the person who's an actual expert? Oh my gosh. I don't know.
Where's that draft report?
It is, best of my knowledge, it's already been provided to the prosecutor's office through the FBI channels.
Is this the lengthy cast draft report or is it a different draft report?
Well, it would have to be the draft cast report. That's the only cast report I'm aware of from Special Agent Balance.
So the only one that he actually knows about is a draft. That doesn't make sense. How do you only, after all this time, only know of a draft? I mean, honestly, I don't need anybody else to tell me that. There's no way that he was driving that vehicle and inside the house making noises at the same time. That car was driving while noises were happening. So he's either like the getaway driver who knows who did it, or he's not involved whatsoever. Because he's not Stretch Armstrong. He can't drive around and do 3-point turns and all this crazy ish while being, super murdery at the same time. It's just impossible. And that's based off of what they're telling us. That's based off of them telling us this noise was heard here, and this is what they heard here, and this is what the camera picked up here. You can't be driving around and stabbing people in a house that you ain't never been in while you driving. You just can't. I don't understand it. I don't understand how they didn't read the PCA and instantly think to themselves, this shit don't make no sense. We better go back and redraft this. It makes legit no sense. Literally none.
So on December 23rd, are you saying you looked at this past draft report to make?
He'd have to be Stretch Armstrong's great grandson for it to work.
That map that went into your affidavit to get the second set of records?
Yes, ma'am.
The one that was given to us in July of last year?
We can go through it real quick because I know it pretty much by heart. Legit. DoorDash shows up at approximately 4 a.m. Around the exact same time that this DoorDash is apparently showing up, Dylan is hearing noises upstairs, according to the PCA again, that makes her believe that it's Kaylee playing with her dog. Then she hears someone who she believes is Kaylee state, someone's here. Okay. Then we hear about how Xana's on TikTok at 4:12, and in between those times, there's more noises. There's more. Then we have the one time that Murphy apparently's bark is like picked up on camera is at 4:17. Then the car is speeding away at 4:20. They end the time of the crime 5 minutes later at 4:25 based off of what? Based off of who now? Dylan and Bethany's phones. So what are you doing in 3 minutes? No. It don't make sense. In the middle of the night, in a 3-story house. No. Well, that's like after, right? Around the time that the person's like leaving is around the time that they hear that. Or they don't know shit about shit and they just want to act like they do because they thought they were going to get sympathy. We don't know. She could have been like just telling them whatever and it came out like that and she might not have seen a damn thing. Honestly. How many people insert themselves and tell stories in cases like this because they think they're going to get attention? And what if it just backfired on the idiot? Because that's a possibility too. Because I don't believe for a freaking second that all of these things go on and nobody calls 911. So she's either like literally just out cold because she's been drinking too much, doing things illegally, in my opinion, because we don't really know, and didn't hear a damn thing. Or she really does know something else. But it doesn't make any sense, anything that she said, because her own timeline doesn't make sense. And I'm sorry, but all these crazy things are going on inside the house. There's 4 different people that get taken out. Murphy only starts barking at 4:17. And in 3 minutes, 4 people's lives are gone manually? No. That just doesn't work that way at all.
I don't know when you got it.
How many versions of that cast draft report have you seen?
I've only seen that one, ma'am. That's the only one I'm aware of.
All right.
They don't.
And from the FBI, we have Agent Balance and Agent Hilly at Moscow Police Department with you. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
And all of this work is done with verbal communication. Is that right?
The majority of it, yes, ma'am.
And Nick Balance's cast draft report.
Correct.
So again, it's just a big, huge game of telephone. Big, huge game of telephone. You're talking about it and then taking what you just heard in your ears, walking away, Changing the environment in which you were just in whenever you heard it, and then sitting down and trying to recollect it perfectly when you are completely inexperienced in the subject. There should have been paper trail for all communications. This is most likely the biggest reason why she asks for all of this stuff in the very beginning. Because this has been a fight from the very beginning. Communications, records of everybody who did anything, and what the hell they talked about. And if they're purposely not giving her over anything, trying to hide conversations, that makes no sense and makes them look even more incompetent. But what's telling is that they're literally just having conversations. Again, he knows shit about shit when it comes to cell phone towers, self-admittedly, okay? And then he's going to go back just based off what he heard and write a report about something he don't know a damn thing about. I'm confuzzled how he has a job.
And I think Special Agent Imel's vehicle identification.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let's talk about what you were seeking to get in this. Well, let me ask this before I leave the second search warrant. Is there anything else you relied on to obtain that second search warrant to compose your affidavit?
Like I said earlier, we relied on cell phone records from surviving roommates as well as the victims. We relied on interviews with the 2 surviving roommates that were present at the time. We relied.
Now, it might be nothing because this guy is just like an imbecile, but I did find it interesting the way that he just said that.
In this, well, let me ask this before I leave the second search warrant. Is there anything else you relied on to obtain that second search warrant to compose your affidavit?
Like I said earlier, we relied on cell phone records from surviving roommates as well as the victims. We relied on interviews with the 2 surviving roommates that were present at the time.
Who the hell else will there be? What you mean? I heard the opposite. And I'll just be like honest with you guys right now. I heard it from Daniel from Drunk Turkey. After that one live I did with him, he told me some stuff that he was told by Kaylee's parents, and it was definitely not that story. According to what I heard, Jack overheard Dylan given this exact same, according to this, okay, this exact same description to somebody over the phone whenever he was walking over to the scene or whatever. Which is just honestly makes Dylan look even more suspicious if that's the case. Because who talks like that? Who says all that stuff? It doesn't even make sense. We don't know. Because the first thing we heard about anybody seeing a damn thing was in the PCA after Bryan was already arrested. Up until then, they never told us anything. And we haven't actually heard anything from Dylan. All we've heard is what we've read. And I've heard a couple of things. I've mentioned a couple of things that I've heard, and I've talked to like 2 other people about it, but it's stuff I heard from Daniel, who got it from Christy. There's another one that's a big to me. I've talked about it with a couple of people, but I just don't feel comfortable talking about it. All I know is that from how it sounds in the background, Dylan's story has changed when it comes to what she's seen, when it comes to what she's told the parents. But that was literally around the time of the memorial, and then there was no information past that. She went silent. And so did Bethany. Which is why I don't understand why the Goncalveses have tried to come out and say that somebody's talking to whoever, because no, you're not. We know that they're not. So there's that. That I don't think is true. That's another thing. I don't think it's both of them. It's one. I've heard it was Bethany and another girl, that it actually wasn't even Dylan, or maybe it was the other one, that it was Dylan and another girl, but apparently it wasn't both of them. I don't even know how many people tell me that, but I've tried to go find it myself and I can't find it. Like where it's proven, like the names, because there was like only, I think like 1 or 2, Dylan and Claire. Okay. See, so it wasn't both of them. I knew it. Yeah. So many people told me that. I couldn't find the report to like come out and do a video on it because I wanted to, but I can't find it in black and white for me to present. So it's just been conversation. Yeah. Which honestly just makes it a little bit more strange to me that Dylan would get such a thing like that and then still not want to testify. What'd you get the tattoo for? Hypocrite. That's all it sounds like.
We relied on the surveillance footage, cell phone data. I'd have to go paragraph by paragraph, but that's what jumps to mind.
Of those things, are you relying on other people's work to put that?
Like in a video, do you know where? Angel's going to send me the picture. But do you know where it was said? Because I would love to get it. Awesome. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
all together?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now I'm ready to talk about the things that same day as the first one. And was there anything else from AT&T that you saw or relied on to get the second one off the ground?
No, ma'am.
And in the first AT&T search warrant, are you aware that part of the request was for timing advance reports?
Yes, ma'am.
And in fact, that also appears in your second search warrant request, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And not only do you ask for the timing advance reports from AT&T, you asked for them from several other companies, correct? Verizon's version of it, T-Mobile's version of this kind of timing advance report. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
I wanted to see what that meant because I wasn't so sure. So this states AT&T and T-Mobile are giving cops geofenced location data, which we kind of already know. Then it states that a timing advance in cellular networks. One, what is timing advance? The timing advance value is an offset applied to a mobile device's transmission timing to compensate for propagation delay. And see, these words I just don't know. So I guess it means like the amount of time it takes to like react to the tower. I think that's what that means. I have to, because I can't just like let it play and pretend like I know what it means, because I don't. Especially when it comes to technology. Like, I'm the weirdest millennial. Trying to see, like, I don't know, length of time. Okay, yeah. Oh, I was right. Okay, length of time a signal takes to reach the base station from a mobile phone. Okay. That makes sense.
When was the first time you saw AT&T's timing advance?
I do not recall when I first saw it.
Where is it?
To the best of my knowledge, all that information from those returns has been provided to the prosecutor's office.
If I tell you I don't have a timing advance report or any from the other phone companies, where do I look for them?
I would direct you back to the prosecutor's office. Everything that Moscow PD received, in that realm, we have turned over to my knowledge.
But you know you've seen this report, is that right?
I do not recall if I've seen the timing advance reports. I'd have to see what it even looked like to know if I'd seen it.
Do you know what it is?
Not particularly. I'm no expert.
Okay.
That's the only honest answer this idiot gives the whole time.
You wrote the search warrant though, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Well,
Did you?
how did you get the language for that if you don't know what this is?
So there's no secret that I rely heavily on people who are very highly educated in these topic areas to write this search warrant. So that language was likely conveyed to me through people who know much more than myself about cell phone data.
Who are those people?
Like I said, FBI agent Balance and Detective Mallory were probably my two main points of contact for helping me with that language.
You mean Mallory, the guy who said like the only thing that he was responsible for was throwing a bunch of security footage into a really like unorganized pile? I know. And his eyebrows. He's always so furrowed. Thank you, Ben. Yeah, they did. Definitely. Yeah, if that. I mean, look at Blaker's. Look at Blaker's. It's literally his copy and pasted down to, in my experience. It's really stupid. Yeah. He's confuzzled for show. It's very quiet. Nobody's talking.
During the course of your investigation and work on the case that became the case that we're here for now, did you communicate with Agent Valance by email?
Yes, ma'am.
And
Didn't he just say that they didn't talk via email? Like 20 minutes ago? Didn't he just say that? They didn't?
did you communicate with other FBI agents by email?
Yes, ma'am.
And did that relate to the investigation of the scene and later the investigation of Bryan Kohberger?
Certainly, yes, ma'am.
Were those communications that assisted you in preparing affidavits and search warrants to carry out your duties in the case?
I do not recall.
But you recall the emails themselves.
I recall sending emails to FBI agents, yes, but
And-
specifics.
And receiving them?
Yes, ma'am.
Where are those emails now?
All emails that Moscow PD is aware of have been turned over to the prosecutor's office.
Your Honor, if I could have just a minute.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, send over to the prosecutor's office. But the prosecutor's not giving it to him.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions for now, but I think you have a couple of exhibits on that front end. If you don't need them for us, maybe I'll take them back.
Well, hold on. Do you have any questions?
Yes, I'll.
Yes, okay. I
Nope.
thought you were just stepping off, so.
Thursday. And I am going to put the video of his testimony up tomorrow. Like I did this one where it's by itself. I'll put that up tomorrow, and then we'll do the live review of Cyrase on Thursday night. Xana and Jennings are trying to figure out what to lie about.
Jennings?
Yes, thank you.
Go ahead.
Morning, sir.
Good work.
Your knowledge, has all the evidence in Moscow Police Department's possession been turned over to the state for us to discover?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you facilitated the defense visiting MPD to review the physical evidence in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
Approximately how many times have you done that?
I had to guess, I'd say 6.
Now, let's talk specifically about this video surveillance. Explain to me the process for collecting video surveillance.
So in this investigation, the way that played out was we directed the investigators to go into the community and collect any available surveillance footage there was. Once they had done that, they were tasked with bringing it back to Moscow Police Department, placing it in the digital forensics lab, and then writing a supplemental report on where they collected that. And
Explain to me the process for collecting video surveillance.
so in this investigation, the way that played out was we directed the investigators to go into the community and collect any available surveillance footage there was. Once they had done that, they were tasked with bringing it back to Moscow Police Department, placing it in the digital forensics lab, and then writing a supplemental report on where they collected that information. That was the process.
Do you know how many agencies helped in this video canvass?
Certainly the FBI and the Idaho State Police.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if any other agencies helped. I don't.
WSU? Why wouldn't they have helped? And wasn't there like several agencies? Okay, I'll check it in a little bit. I'll have to check it after this. I don't want anything to like show up on my screen from my emails, so I'll pop it up in here in a minute. Okay, but he has basically already done that. Like he's already confessed that he's basically writing lies because he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. So how is he not lying in his reports and in the PCA and already perjured himself because he doesn't know what he's talking about? He needs to be fired.
Do you know approximately how many agents were out collecting video?
Easily over a dozen. I don't know the specific number, but
Isn't it true that investigators collected video surveillance from approximately 79 businesses
yes, ma'am.
God, that's a lot.
and approximately 10 residences?
10? That's it? This happened in a residential area and they have more business footage than they do of the neighborhood? Yeah, I don't understand that. And all of that footage, 79 businesses, and y'all still can't give us a still shot. Okay.
So let's talk about the areas that Ms. Taylor mentioned. Isn't it true that there's other surveillance video capturing the Moscow Pullman Highway, specifically on the way to Pullman?
Yes, ma'am. There's
Yeah, and part of it is at a cannabis shop, and Anne is already like, whose car is this? Because it ain't Brian's. So if we already know, according to the courts, there's at least one piece of footage in there that's not Brian's, how many other? Because, yeah, cool, they might have actually, like, caught him on camera leaving his apartment. Because he's not denying he left his apartment. But it's them losing the car in between their connections that is the problem here, especially at night. I'm going to say this again because I've said this a couple different times. There's a couple different light shades that would show up like a white car on black and white camera. So I just don't think that they puzzle pieced it all together right. Ever. Like, at all. They've got a lot missing. Well, we know that now that Cyrase told us.
Is it true we've turned over video for banks
yes,
on
ma'am.
that highway? Is it true we've turned over surveillance for stores on that highway?
Yes,
Is it true we've turned over video for gas stations?
yes,
Now let's talk about the Troy Highway towards Troy. Isn't it true we've turned over surveillance video for fast food restaurants,
yes,
gas stations?
yes,
And now US 95 towards Coeur d'Alene. Isn't it true we've turned over surveillance video for hardware stores,
yes,
gas stations?
yes,
Now, what about US 95 towards Lewiston? Isn't it true we've turned over surveillance video for gas stations,
yes,
as well as apartments?
yes.
I was told to listen for that.
Now let's move to your PC affidavit. Can you explain to me what did the investigation look like during?
Because there's more than one way out of an apartment complex. Like legally, there has to be more than one entrance and exit. And if he was just going on a leisurely drive, he didn't give a damn about them cops. That had nothing to do with him. That's how I see it.
In the time that you were writing that affidavit?
So as I said, the command center was established at the Moscow Police Department. The command center consisted of myself and numerous partners from the FBI and the Idaho.
Yeah, I don't give a damn. I don't give a hot damn. They did not release that Banfield footage at the exact same time they tried to tell us what kind of car they were looking for on purpose. I mean, on accident. No. Coincidences like that don't happen for relevancy, especially since the timeline switched. And it's not like conspiracy or us just like overthinking and trying to like see shit. They did it. They switched the timeline by an hour. So, yeah, I question that car. And we all know who was driving that car. So,
State Police, we were all co-located there at Moscow. We also had individual sections assigned to do various tasks, collect video, conduct interviews, so on and so forth. The majority of those people were also co-located at the Moscow Police Department. So as the process for developing this affidavit began, those people would just come into the command center and relay information that was deemed to be critical or important. The reason for that was to shorten the chain of information to make sure that the folks, myself and my partners in the command post, got the clearest view of what the investigators on the ground were actually retrieving and learning as this went on. As they relay that to me, I input that into the.
Tell me. It is disgusting to me. Have y'all seen the way that the Goncalves' like grandma, like Kaylee's grandma, talks about Anne? Anne seems to actually want to know what the hell happened here. Xana doesn't give two shits that they have so much information missing. He just sits there not caring at all. How much does he care about justice for these victims when he's this ugh? Anne literally does seem like she's the only one giving a shit about trying to figure out what happened here. And not because she's trying to defend her client, because what the hell is happening here? I don't think she'd be fighting this hard for this kind of stuff if she started seeing things that like actually pieced Bryan being there. I feel like she's naturally curious because nothing fits, nothing makes sense, and she's going to solve it. How much do you want to bet she solves this case if it doesn't go cold? But yeah, you're right. She's like the only one that seems like she seems to really give a shit.
Yeah, Dave.
And is that standard to rely on what other investigators tell you when you're applying for warrants?
Absolutely.
And is that what you did?
Yes, ma'am.
And is what you relied upon detailed in your probable cause affidavit?
Yes.
I mean, yeah, you do rely on stuff that other people do in the case, but you don't sit there and copy paste what they say or have a conversation 2 football yards away in one side of the building and then get all the way back to your office after you've done said hi to 20 people on the way and then sit down and think that you're going to recollect everything that you were just told whenever you're a complete moron on the subject. Oh, did you? Good. Good. They should. I wonder if they took what Nancy Grace said seriously, because that was a bit disturbing.
Now, talking about the timing advance records, are you aware that AT&T didn't provide timing advance records in December of 2022?
I do not remember.
Are you aware that they did not start providing those records until May of 2023?
Objection laden.
Cross-examination.
It is overall.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, that's what I meant. That one, whatchamabobble that I did. What was it, a short? What'd she say? She would want to like rip her head off? Tear her head off? Some crazy stuff. No, not me. I stay strapped. They be stupid. But I'm sure Anne does too, honestly. But no, she threatened Anne. And yeah, the Goncalves' grandma is like wanting to slap her and yelling and screaming in the comments about, I just cannot stand her. Da, da, da. Well, she's like the only one doing her job. So how about y'all shut up, sit down? Yeah, well, Steve is not an alpha. Steve is a B and not a beta. Okay. Snapper. Yep, that's it right there. Oh, it's all over the comments. The grandma. She wants to slap Anne across the face. She can't stand her. She calls her name. She's in the comments just They need to get a hold of they grandmama because you embarrassing. Yes. The grandmother. Okay. The oldest one in the family. So that just tells you, okay, about the way that apple falls. Yeah. And honestly, he's not too good at it either because all the crap he's done, he hasn't solved anything or fixed a problem. And where's all their statements on this? Steve, where's your comments on this? Why are you not out there trying to find the real killer knowing they don't got shit on Bryan? Or you're too busy trying to figure out how much money you're going to get from the university to give a shit anymore? Because you guys noticed that the second Xana came out and was like, those stalking rumors are false and you know it. All of a sudden they're talking about the university and like every post ever, every interview they do, they had a complete like 180 when it comes to what they were focusing on. Yeah, and her sister does too. Bryan. Yeah, like I'm sorry, but once I found out about Samantha, I lost all kinds of respect for Steve and Christy both. I mean, yeah, I understand that they lost a daughter, but that doesn't mean that they're awesome people just because they're victims of something or, you know, missing their child. That doesn't make them immediately saints just because their child is gone. Yes. And that's probably why Grandma thinks she can get away with it because Nancy Grace does. A character is what he is for show. Oh, I have them. You mean the ones between her and Kaylee talking shit about Samantha in like the grossest way possible? Like a bunch of little mean biatches? Sorry, not sorry? Yeah, I know. It's gross. And they get it from Christy. They get it from Steve. They get it from Christy. It's gross. And then look at the grandma. The grandma is sitting there threatening a lawyer on a public forum that everyone can see, thinking that she can just get away with it. They need to start filing some paperwork. This is wild. Wild.
Go ahead.
I'll re-ask. Are you aware that AT&T did not start providing those records until May of 2023?
Yes.
I don't have anything for
Thank you. Ms. Taylor?
Thanks. Let's start there. May of 2023. Do you have timing advance records now from May of 2023?
I would have to direct you to Detective Mallory to answer that question. Don't know.
Okay. Did you write a new warrant for them in May of 2023?
I do not recall.
If you included them in two separate warrants in December of 2022, but they didn't provide them, why would you do that?
It was the language that was suggested to me to write the affidavit. So
Language suggested by an FBI agent who's an expert in the field?
yes, ma'am.
Yes. And do you know if he saw the timing advance reports?
I do not know.
All right.
Of course not.
Now, those first and second AT&T warrants were how many hours from receiving the return on the first one?
Any single time that she wanted to just like send Steve something for Father's Day and tried to get like the address and the information, they were complete assholes to her. I've read the messages. I've spoken with Samantha a couple different times myself on TikTok, like conversations. She's seen the video that I did. I feel sorry for her. But then I don't at the same time because honestly, she's probably way hella better off without Steve around. It's just, ugh. Yeah, I do. I do. It's not her fault that he abandoned her as a child because Christy told him your kid or me. Why would you want somebody who picked another woman over his child to then be the father of your children? I'm sorry, I just can't. Let me just press play.
Until the second one was given to Judge Marshall at 4:45.
I do not remember.
Not very many hours, though. Would that be fair?
Likely not.
I want to talk a little bit more about the video and what's been turned over and what hasn't been turned over to us. And I want to focus a little bit on South US 95. Do you recall that south of Moscow on US 95 is the path that you put in your search warrant and affidavit alleging that Bryan Kohberger left Moscow going south on US 95?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And are you aware that one of the videos that you gave us, the coffee shop that they are on South 95?
Before we even got to anything important in court, they don't reserve their right to do so. That's all they cared about. Like, once the arrest was made, that's all they gave a shit about, basically. At least that's how I see it. That's how I feel about it.
5, that leaving Moscow, you have to pass that covers 5 a.m. to 6 a.m.
I do not recall the time frame for that.
And so the time,
Did you not bother to like even care? How would you just not like look at your reports just to like refresh your big old Mr. Clean bobblehead brain? I don't understand.
one of the videos that you gave us, the coffee shop that they are on South 95, that leaving Moscow,
No, that's my point. That's my point. It's learned behavior from their parents. And I'm supposed to like boo-hoo to Christy for what? She's not the only person who lost a kid, and she's made a mockery of this case, in my opinion. Because I don't even TikTok, bro. I can't even remember last time I put anything on there. Most of the time I forget that it's there. Legit. Yeah, I don't. Like, what did you do? You gathered information from people who actually did the investigation, but none of them wrote anything down because they're all feds who don't write anything about their work down, and then they just tell you about it over what, cocktails? Y'all are wild. Wild.
you have to pass that covers 5 a.m. to 6 a.m.
I do not recall the time frame for that.
And so the time frame in these videos would matter, right?
Certainly.
The time frame in the videos to be meaningful would need to cover a time that surrounds the allegations against Mr. Kohberger. Is that fair to say?
You can say that, yes.
Okay.
You could. Yeah, you could. Are you expecting me to believe that you don't think it's important to make sure that the timing is actually the time of the crime? So you're just sitting there submitting evidence all willy-nilly, no matter what the timestamp is. You heard him, huh? My kids have a strange habit of telling me whenever they're going to the bathroom. So that was my big kid who's like 5 inches taller than me. He uses this weird voice. I'm going to the bathroom, just to let me know he's going into the bathroom. I didn't know if you guys heard him or not. My door is shut and everything. So that's funny that y'all heard him. Oh, thank you. Bye-bye. The baby's great. She's probably going to be admitted overnight. I mentioned earlier that she was having, my sister was having severe blood pressure problems. Now, what's crazy that she sent me 3 screenshots, three pictures of 3 different monitors, because I was like, is your monitor just not collaborated correctly? Because when she got to the emergency room, it was like 145 over something, which is great. Not a big deal whatsoever. But she has 3 different readings of like 180 something over like 120 something, which is wild. But then she gets to the emergency room and her and my dad are both like, it's in the 140s. I don't understand. And now it's down to 135 over 84, which is fantastic. That's great. But yeah, they're probably going to do another magnesium drip. But I think they've got it under control. It's just scary. Super scary. But thank you. Thank you for checking. Y'all have been so awesome. Just y'all's positive everything out there. It's been so great. Yeah, Mr. Clean. But yeah, that's what it seems like, especially since Mallory told us, oh my goodness, Mouse. Mousy Mouse. You're always so sweet. You're always awesome. Thank you. Thank you for gifting those memberships. That's sweet. Yeah. Yeah. Well, the preeclampsia, it'll be 6 to 8 weeks or so, I guess, before it finally like levels out. Something like that, I think. Oh, congratulations, all you guys that got the memberships from Mouse. Mouse is awesome. Oh, you are leaving. That's why I was like, why is everybody telling Mouse about a shower? Oh, I feel you. I had to have my big kids mow the yard today. Have a good night. Thank you so much for the memberships. That's awesome. Awesome, awesome. But yeah, it just doesn't seem like they have anything organized whatsoever. And I mean, and didn't Anne already tell us like several times that the stuff that she did get, that it wasn't organized like at all? Nothing was labeled. Like you could see, but you couldn't. You could see what it was. You could tell maybe like if you knew the situation, like where it was taken, who's in the photo, what's in the photo. But when it comes to like chronological order and all the things, it's all everywhere. It's a mess. Huge mess. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, are you? Okay. All right, buddy, old pal. You're so funny. Enjoy your night. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know. They'd probably do a better job. Honestly, they'd probably do a better job.
And are you aware that Watson Car Reconstruction had a video, and that also has a very limited time frame, like 5 a.m., just 1 hour of video also?
Sounds vaguely familiar, yes.
And that's also south on Highway 95, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And the one we talked about today, Monday's machine that nobody could find, that clearly was given to Moscow Police Department, that's also south on 95.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I understand that you had a lot of help on canvassing and collecting things. There was a lot to do. But as the lead agent and the lead department, is there some kind of inventory of these videos, like a general inventory that would help me know what you have and why you don't have the relevant time frame?
I am super pissed off today. I'm super pissed off. And I don't like Ashley Banfield, but she did something just like kind of short and sweet with Gabby's parents, where a lot of stuff about Brian's little biatch ass came out. And I had to step away for a little while. I had to collect my thoughts on that. So we might go over that tomorrow since we're not doing the Cyrate live until Thursday. I might just go over that video with you guys. I know. But it was about the Petitos and the information that came out, and just a lot. And it's just, I mean, I cried for a while. Like, I'm kind of getting like screwed up right now, just like thinking about it, honestly. That pissed me off today. It did. All right, let's get back to this. But we will probably talk about that tomorrow, because to me, it's important. So,
Frames?
The inventory that would be most useful to you is the inventory of evidence that has been booked into the Moscow Police Department. That's the inventory.
And I did come see the evidence. That's fair. I did come see the evidence. We didn't watch videos together though, did we?
No, ma'am.
And would you agree that That evidence is on thumb drives with stickies on papers that tell us different things, but not like an inventory of what's on each thumb drive.
I am not aware of an inventory of each individual thumb drive.
Okay.
No,
So
we're
for
just
us to do that,
completely disorganized fools who don't know how to do anything like normal adults. We're literally just in kindergarten, throwing stuff in our cubbies all willy-nilly. How do you not, God, how do you not label things in a quadruple homicide? How do you just not care enough to just take a marker and write a date and an address? Lazy. Lazy.
together would take some days to inventory it all together. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's my best way to try to find this Monday's machine
Sure.
and Watson Car Reconstruction.
What is it? Under mine? Oh, you mean like the live itself? Some gold hoop earrings. I don't even wear earrings. That's funny that they're you showing those kinds of ads. That's funny.
Ma'am.
That's it. Thanks.
All right, Ms. Taylor, anything to follow up on that? Ms. Jennings?
Oh, just one second.
I think this is it. I don't think they ask. Oh, there's a few more minutes. They do something.
Thank you. I just want to clarify what's in your probable cause affidavit.
Nothing worth a shit.
Does your probable cause affidavit state that Kohberger or White Elantra went on US 95 south of Moscow?
No, it's not.
Okay. What does it state?
Memory serves states that the next time, well, it states that a vehicle was seen leaving the area of the crime scene, McKean Road, leaving via Walenta Drive, which heads south from that area,
Mhm.
and then terminates on Conestoga and Moose River Drive. That's what the probable cause affidavit states.
So, Mr. I don't know where nothing is in downtown or any freaking where else. How are you going to sit here with your experience on the traffic of that area? Because remember, guys, in the PCA, it states like, ooh, hold on one second. I'm going to have to drink some water. Ugh, I'm getting excited. Okay, I'm good. Oh, there you are, Twizzy. Right? Like, she doesn't even care to stand up. Like, Santa is one disrespectful thing, right? But she's not even standing up. Like, I thought you kind of had to. Weren't you supposed to? Oh, gosh. No, but so many people have asked me to, and I don't know if I want to. Because I don't need another WSU Kim, okay? We don't need another Dave. So I don't know. I mean, I'm probably going to have to because not going to lie today, you probably like number 20. So I guess I'm going to have to. But I'm just worried because what are we going to get after what we already went through? Oh, and let's add Dot to that too. But yeah, I guess I'll watch it because I've had a lot of people ask me. I'm just worried. We'll see.
And to your knowledge, are there other paths of travel south of Moscow besides US 95?
Yes.
And what's that other route?
I believe the one that was referenced in the affidavit goes from Moose River Drive, which turns into Sand Road at the state line, not the Idaho-Washington state line. That road continues westbound until south of Pullman and eventually leads north into Pullman at Bishop Boulevard, if memory serves.
And does that path of travel go by Watson Carry Construction?
I do not believe it does.
How do you know? Mr. I don't know a damn thing about anywhere because I just don't know anything about anywhere. How do you know? You just literally told Ann Taylor that you don't know where any of these like locations are. Whether they're in downtown or they're the Monday's place, the construction's place, whatever. You don't have any like memory of these places. So how are you not answering those questions, claiming you don't know? But now it's different. I'm just so tired of it.
Did you attempt to obtain surveillance on that path of travel that doesn't go through 95?
Yes, we did.
And were you successful?
I don't believe we were.
I don't have anything further.
Okay, thank you.
I
Ms.
don't
Taylor?
believe we were. That's the end of it. I don't think she's. Oh yeah, she does have something else. But let's just repeat what she just said.
The travel go by Watson Carey Construction.
I do not believe it does.
Did you attempt to obtain surveillance on that path of travel that doesn't go through 95?
Yes, we did.
And were you successful?
I don't believe we were.
I don't have anything further.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Taylor?
Are you,
They were not successful. Were you not?
And does that path of travel go by Watson Carey Construction?
I do not believe it does.
Did you attempt to obtain surveillance on that path of travel that doesn't go through 95?
Yes, we did.
And were you successful?
I don't believe we were.
So you got nothing. You got nothing. Not shocking.
I don't have anything further.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Taylor?
are you testifying that Mr. Kohberger did not use Highway 95 south of Moscow on November 13th?
I'm testifying that there are various routes that a person could take south of Moscow to include.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda. Shut up. How are you going to arrest a man on a quadruple homicide and try to put him literally in front of a firing squad? You can't tell us which way you think he went in and out the house that you've now destroyed or allowed some other asshole to destroy, but you also don't even know the route in which he actually drove. So you're supposed to make me believe that you have all of this traffic footage that literally takes him from his apartment to King Road and back, but you can't even validate which way he actually went. Dismiss the charges. This is absolutely stupid.
Highway 95. There are also several others.
Which one does your map depict?
I believe the map starts well south of Moscow, more towards Genesee, and there is the line that starts there. However, I would direct you to the paragraph at the beginning of the map that says this is a possible route to travel between the two locations.
So you're just not sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That would include then Highway 95 south of Moscow.
Yes, ma'am.
And that would include other possible routes.
Yes, ma'am.
How many video surveillance attempts did you make to get video from?
You know what else does too? That weird ass green color that is in the video of the house getting taken down. Everyone has seen that car in the video, and I've had people tell me that live in that area or have been in that area. There's a car in that area that has been wrapped that color. Light colors like that show up like that. So for sure. It could literally be like any color, honestly. I mean, it could, obviously white's like the most common, but yeah. Could be any light color at all. I don't know. Like, you know damn well he's getting like paid billable hours just to sit there and doodle and scooch away from the evidence. Ugh. Makes me mad.
Businesses or homes on all of those routes?
I do not recall, but it continued for some time, attempting to find additional video.
Attempting.
What did you find?
Nothing to my recollection.
Not one video depicting the car.
To my memory, no.
Good enough, thanks.
Good enough, thanks. Good enough, thanks. Let's listen to the last part one more time because it's just chef's kiss.
Sometime, attempting to find additional video.
What did you find?
Nothing to my recollection.
Not one video depicting the car.
To my memory, no.
Good enough, thanks.
So quick. Good enough, thanks. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Good enough, thanks. We didn't find nothing. You didn't find nothing. You got nothing on my client. You've done all this crazy shit for no reason. Why are we here? Whenever y'all are out there like letting the bad guys really go. Because this don't make any sense at all. At all. Okay. Yeah, I was telling my daughter about my sister's stuff because she wanted to know. No, I muted it. She wanted to know what was going on with my sister. Because I hadn't had the chance to let them know that her blood pressure was down a little bit and about all the stuff that I'd let y'all know about. Because I'd been in here. So Ariel was just curious. And then my Boomy wanted in here. You know, I had a video of his little nose and stuff I added the other day. He's constantly got to be up here. So apparently he was just like at the door begging to come in. Yeah, of course there is. File a motion to recuse. That's what's going on at Delphi. Huh? I muted it. I left my face. Yeah, wild. They've got nothing. They've got absolutely nothing. Yeah, motion for a change of judge. He's not okay. He's a coward. Mofo got no backbone. At all. It's like he wants to be, you know the parents that are like wanting to be besties with their kids instead of parents. That's John Judge. To me, that's who he is. The parent who don't know how to parent. It's just too much. I checked earlier to see if we might have had another document because I'm really kind of surprised that we haven't gotten more documentation after the last court hearing because normally we get a couple things. Let me check one more time. I don't think we do though. I mean, that could change tomorrow. No. Just the pushing back of the change of venue. Yeah, for the change of venue, it's been pushed back until August. That's what I said. Like I had some people in the comments like, what does it matter? It's not going to do anything to the trial. Yes, it does. Every little bit of anything. I mean, even Ann Taylor's done it with her whole like survey thing in the beginning about how they had to like stop for a minute. Of course I do, because they have nothing and that's all she needs to prove. What you mean? Good enough, thanks. Yeah, we already knew that you didn't have shit about shit. Yeah, of course, good enough. Well, there's nothing else to say. What else can he say? There's nothing to say because you ain't got nothing to say. Nothing to say. I know. Can you imagine what he's going to be like at trial? That's what I think. No. If they let this go, do you think, well, I don't know if that has anything to do with her comment, but I think you might be right. We'll see. But and the reality is they've got nothing of him doing anything. They've got nothing of his insignia on his car proving that it's him. I mean, shouldn't the car have some sort of like WSU parking sticker or some shit on it? You would think. You would think. You probably right, because we're going to go over a story here. It's a long video. It's this huge article that I read of a case of a man who was literally about to be put to death for murdering somebody that he never even met in his life, because this man's this man's DNA was found under the victim's fingernails, and he never even met the man ever. So we're going to talk about that. And there was no compensation for this man being locked up for like 6 to 8 months, I think, at all, because he was never convicted. The attorney that he had, his Ann Taylor, found all of the truth and stuff out on her own, doing back-end investigations about how the two people's DNAs like mixed up, because they found the connection. You know, my cereal box thing I tell you all the time. Yeah. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. Either it was the like paramedics that handled both situations or something like that. But yeah, it had all to do with paramedics in the ambulance. Maybe, but this guy, he didn't. Like, it's in the article that like all this time, like he was homeless when it happened and he stayed homeless after that. Like he never got any compensation for being wrongfully accused, which you'd think that'd be automatic. Like, you know how, well, I don't know about some of you. I don't know how some people know about this kind of stuff, but jail math, like if you owe money for like a fine or whatever, and you like go to sit it out, I'm told that it's like 2 to 3 for one. Like, let's say it's like $100 a day, but jail math is really more like $200 or $300 a day and like credits towards stuff. So that's why like you get out of jail early whenever you probably shouldn't type things. So you'd think that if you were wrongfully being held for something that you didn't do, that you would instantly, just as they let you out, get a check for X amount times X amount of days that you've been locked up. You know what I mean? Seems like it'd be like a way to make it work. Hey, AR. But yeah, I have like a whole thing and I just need to edit it. And I'm still doing the PCA redo, guys. Like I already have like 2 hours worth of stuff on it. I just haven't had the time to sit down and edit it because there's all this stuff. And I do everything here myself. I don't have editors or mods or anything. So yeah, I do everything myself. So it just takes me a little bit longer. But we're going to be, I heard about this. I heard about that. I hope he's okay too. I saw something about that on Twitter. The guy from Murder Metal Mayhem. He's having some medical issues too. That's really sad. So yeah, I hope that everything gets okay with him. Compensation. Yeah, no, he didn't get any. And it's ridiculous. Super crazy. And there wasn't. It was accidental. Touch DNA does what touch DNA does. It was accidental. Critical? That's wild. Yeah, that's super wild. Yeah, I hope he ends up okay. That's nuts. Yeah, it's sad. That's what a lot of people worried about. Because the house is gone. And there's other DNA profiles that were never tested. Dang. That's great. Yeah. That's sad. Okay. But okay, you guys. That's it. For all of this nothingness. Like, honestly, Anne and Bryan are literally doing exactly what they said that they were going to do in using everything that the state has against them. Thank you, broski. Have a good night. They're trying to, I guess. Afterwards, but not. I mean, when it comes to this, I think they probably have a legal right. Like, if this whole thing goes to trial and Bryan is found not guilty and all the things happened that the family were against, like the house and everything like that, yeah. I'm pretty positive they would have like a huge case. I mean, maybe not planning, but cleaning for sure. Faux show, something got cleaned up. Yeah. I like doing these for these court cases because it's crazy. Did it? It hasn't even been a full 2 years yet. Last month would be like a really strange timeline for filing. That's odd. Unless it's like exactly 18 months. Is it 18 months? Yeah, that's why they like instantly was like, oh, we're reserving our right to do so. That's crazy. Is she talking somewhere? Who are you giving this comment to? Like, I know she likes to talk a lot at CrimeCon, but I don't think that she even likes talking on YouTube. Yeah, that's wild. Like, you crazy, you think I'm going to give them a dime. That's Queen. I don't know what that is, but I'll find out. I mean, this is my thing. Okay? If there was some sort of DNA on the victims, don't you think that would have been in the PCA? That they would have put that there was DNA found under 40 fingernails, at least one of said 40 fingernails, besides some mobile thing that's not even a weapon? Is she? Interesting. Is it? I guess y'all know what's coming. I'm going to have to look at it. Their own channel. You telling me the freaking Chapins have their own YouTube channel? That can't be this can't be real life. So they pull in like a Candace and a Dawn Wells creating their own YouTube channel? I'm going to have to research it. If I find that, I'll put it in the community tab. That's wild. Hey. We just finished looking over Brett Payne's lies with his weird old Mr. Clean head. I had no idea they had their own channel. That's wild. That's what I would love to know. That right there. Because again, 40 fingernails, and let's also 40 toenails. And let's also, they're inside of a house getting ready for bed. They're not in shoes. So, you don't usually. A lot of people say that. I don't know why. It's kind of strange to me. Because, like, you don't usually. They don't normally do that. Like, celebrities is really, like, the only time you really ever see that on the news. Because maybe it wasn't Bryan. It's kind of like where we at right now. Because it wasn't Bryan. Yeah. Found no results and decided not give a shit. And that's what I don't understand. What about the DNA profile on the sheath just made you decide that the other 3 were irrelevant? Because that's really dumb. That's a super, super, super dumb way of thinking. They did. Just where'd it go? That one. They did. They apparently did bring him in, and they said that he didn't have any DNA on him, which made me wonder exactly what happened here, which is why my theory is that Kaylee fell asleep in her room because she still had furniture in there, and you can see it in all of the photos that there was still furniture and everything in her bedroom, and her mother even makes a comment about how it didn't even look from the photos like they'd even gone through Kaylee's trash or anything. I think she fell asleep in her bedroom, heard noises coming from Maddie's room, left Murphy in her room behind a closed door, and went to go check on Maddie, and that's why there's no DNA on Murphy. That's what I think. Yeah. Like, who were you surveilling that smoked cigarettes that you felt the need to, like, stalk to get their spit? I highly doubt that, considering that he was a TA in front of people all the time. It'd be hella noticeable for him to have done something like that. And he'd have been even more suspicious then. No. When did they say they were going to finally do that? Because that's all we've been waiting for. Yeah, I think some people need to get over their like Romeo and Juliet like fantasies that they have about the situation, because he didn't want nothing to do with Kaylee. Like, sorry, not sorry about it. He didn't answer the phone because she was drunk, and he didn't want to deal with his drunk ex-girlfriend. How many of you have had to deal with a drunk, stupid ex calling your phone in the middle of the night trying to get your attention and you want none of it? How many? Most of us more than once. He didn't walk her to go get food. He didn't make sure that she got home okay. He didn't care about her. He didn't care enough about her to do this, for sure. People need to get over the Jack D thing. For real. I saw some people talk about that earlier today. I'm like, we still doing this? They were barely even talking to each other at the bar at that. I mean, it wasn't long after that they left to go get food, and he wasn't too concerned about them getting to the truck safely. Somebody else walked him. Yeah, ex-boyfriend for a reason. Right? Legit. That's not true, because the bed's in the photos. So if Christy said that, then she doesn't know anything about anything, which wouldn't surprise me, because she said she's never been to that house ever. And they never said it was a dog hair follicle. They said they found a dog hair in his apartment, but that doesn't mean that he didn't pick that up just walking around. Oh, I saw. I actually went on their Facebook page today to see if they've been brave enough to make a comment about all this crazy stuff. I don't watch him. To me, he's a little cuckoo. I mean, y'all can watch him all you want to. I don't care if y'all like mention him. Y'all can even discuss him in this chat thing, but I don't watch that dude. He's absolutely off his mind, if you ask me. Yeah, ever. Which is why I'm really confused, because the guy who wrote that article where he was like, oh, they all moved in like 2020, what it was, he still has not responded. Like, he's never even read it. And like, you're like a low level local newsman. Why are you not checking your freaking messages on Twitter? Oh yeah, no problem. No, y'all can talk about whoever y'all want to in the thing. Yeah, that guy. Yeah, I think he's absolutely crazy. But y'all can talk about it. That's fine. Yeah, they did. It's just one. But the thing is that they like hardcore dug into his vehicle and everything. And I'm sorry, they're digging in vents. They're digging into like the little crease where your seatbelt thingy, like where the material from your seatbelt is like covered in that plastic clip before the metal sticks out. They're swabbing up in that thing. All right. And there's nothing. They're taking that car apart. They didn't leave it in Pennsylvania. And I highly doubt that they drove it or U-hauled it, because they spent freaking too much money on jet fuel to get the DNA from the trash back to the lab. They probably tore that car apart, put it in pieces, hopefully labeled them, and then put them on a plane and then tested them whenever they got back. That's probably what happened. Yeah, they did everything. They'll check under your brake pads. Everything. Yeah, and that's the problem right there. No explanation for the lack of. And do you know how much you would have to do in order to not only use the correct cleaning agents correctly, but then delete any evidence that you use those agents? He was a full-time TA. He didn't have time for that. No, because she's an idiot. She's an absolute fool. They need to. And you should not be able to work a court case unless you're willing to write down what you did verbatim and in detail. I don't know. I don't know. Girl, I think that Tinder date's a liar. I think that Tinder date chick is a liar. Like, she never showed proof, right? Like, she didn't, like, pull up her Tinder profile and be like, oh, look at her messages. You want my opinion? T-Rev is a piece of shit. Seth Rogers is no better. Katie Proudfoot might have started off as a victim, but she's like allowed herself to allow Sebastian to become one too. And Chris Proudfoot's off his freaking rocker. Sebastian probably, hopefully, fingers crossed, just ran away from this freaking insanity. And hopefully, a couple years from now, he's found safe and fine. You know, today marks day 100. And all we've accomplished is a bunch of Summer Wells drama with more YouTube creators showing how much big pieces of shit that they are. My opinion of Gray Hughes, he's a smart ass, but he's smart. I don't like him, but I'll watch certain things that he does. I think he's an absolute buffoon when it comes to common sense. And I don't like the way he interviews and acts all cocky, but he's smart. It's been a shit show. I feel so bad for Sebastian. I am team Chloe. I am team Julia, the K9 captain. I am team Trevor. I'm all the right teams because all collectively they're team Sebastian for real. And honestly, his daddy ain't. His daddy is trying to get weapons from the same guy who they're fighting over a woman. Like, in case you guys missed that, like the chick that T-Rev is living with now was also like just apparently sleeping with Seth. And he also just like asked T-Rev to like get him a weapon. Dude's a freaking clown. Seth Rogers is a clown. I've always thought he was a clown. Yeah, the whole going off to some random landfill in a whole nother state instantly, like that happened pretty early. He was. Well, I'd hope not. But he lives with her now. T-Rev moved from wherever he was living and lives with the Michaela chick. Yep. One that can apparently pierce armor, right? Because that's what they're worried about. Sure. Mr. Rap speaker box fake guy? Probably not. Show me tax records. I'm going to. I've had a lot of people tell me to listen to it, so I'm definitely going to go listen. But yeah, I feel bad for Sebastian. And what I don't understand is Tony. Tony can kiss my ass too. Like, he's just a stupid drama king that needs to go get back on the crane or whatever the hell he was doing for a living. What's insane to me is that this loser Tony is also helping Caleb Harris's family because he actually knows Randy Harris. Like, he works with Caleb's father. But Caleb's family are like hella religious. They don't cuss, and they almost sound as if their son ends up being gay, then they're going to be hella disappointed because every single since the whole like Reddit theory came about, they've been really weird about stuff. But they still don't seem like the type of people that would be friends with somebody like Tony. So I don't get it. I don't get it. Tony's a joke. Fight me, Tony. Tony's a joke. I've talked to Chloe. I've talked to Julia. I just don't understand how you as a father who also works for law enforcement can be pissed off about a freaking private investigator who wants to make sure that you have legit awesome people working for you and not freaking criminals looking to just make some money. Like Chloe was doing her job. Vetting people. Seth didn't want people vetted. Does that not, like, hello? Huge red flag. Yeah. Fight me, Tony. I hate him. Oh, he sucks. And he's got a criminal record and he just sucks. I mean, I don't believe it if he is. I hope he gets better, but I don't believe it unless what is it? Something to do with sleeping with somebody he shouldn't be sleeping with? I really know if that's a health crisis. About Sebastian? Katie holds the answers. Katie holds the answers. She lied about the lights, and that's something I'm not going to let go of. That's why, like, as much as Chris seems to be like an asshole, I really just kind of wonder if he's just protecting her because he's believing what she says, but she lied about the lights. Bryan, I don't think he knows nothing. I don't think he knows nothing. I think he knows probably exactly what happened. Yes. For sure. He wouldn't have been so confident. You can't just sit here and say, I'm going to be exonerated, expecting that to really happen unless you know what's up. It's a one-story house. She mentioned a thud coming from the bedroom. And her son has a fluid pocket on his brain and doesn't go check on her son after she hears a thud. He could have hit his head for all she knew. And he might not have felt it right then and there, but what if he did hit his head on that fluid pocket? And she's lying about the fact that he answered back. And what if something happened because of said thud that hit fluid pocket? I don't trust the whole thing. A YouTuber who talks to spirit boxes and raps. That's who he is. He's basically like just as disgustingly messy as Bullhorn Betty. I can't. You gotta be kidding me. So not only is he sleeping with the chick that was sleeping with Sebastian's daddy, but now he's trying to summon his spirit. Jail. People like that should be in jail. Sorry, not sorry. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Honey, my opinion about him is everywhere. It's everywhere. You funny. Yeah. That. I mean, look, he got some hustle in him. And I give credit where credit's due, but I'm like, Chloe, I want to know that the people in the investigation aren't like hypocrites. I'm just not one of those politically correct people. I wasn't raised like that. He is like stalking-ish persistent though, because he's had like he's literally gone and like stalked and harassed victims' family just because he wanted to talk to them. That's not cute. It's not cute. It is if she hit it. So the question's still all lie with her. He sued himself. He sued his own self. He also pretended to be like an uncle of like the uncle of the Sandy Hook guy, I think. And then he also pretended to be, yeah, that were there. And then he pretended to be like a Muslim and do some crazy shit too. I mean, like, that's just not cute. Like, how? That's not even like an adult. That's not even somebody acting like a damn adult. And I know that there's probably people in here that heard me just, I don't care. They all know how I feel about them. I've been here long enough. They know. Yeah. Isn't that wild? Like, that's something to brag about. It's so crazy. Insane. But yeah, I guess that's it, you guys. It's almost 10. I'm gonna go listen to that person. Maybe not tonight, but probably tomorrow. Because I need to listen to stuff while I'm working, and that's what I usually do is I'll put on new things that I need to listen to and take mental notes, and then after work go back, listen to it a second time, and take real notes. That's how I normally do it. But yeah, that's it. I'll let you guys know about my sister in a community tab, but I think so far everything's good. They got it down to like 130 something, and I think they're still going to keep her though, just for in cases, which is fine with me because it's scary. But yeah, that's it, you guys. What a mess. I don't understand it. But at least we have Cyray's testimony to look forward to look over. Because even though I'm kind of like disappointed in some of the choices this man has made here recently, he's really smart. And what he says makes sense, especially with all the missing information. Like his expert testimony that sounded like impeccable. Opposite, how do you say, reflected, mirrored, reverse mirrored, whatever. Payne sounded like a dumbass. Cyray sounds like he knows what he's doing. Both testimonies tell us they ain't got shit. Is how it goes. Yeah. Big contrast. Big. So it'll be Thursday. I think it's at 7. Something like that. Yep. That's it. I want you guys to go and have a great night. If you haven't like divulged in your Taco Tuesdayness, go and do that. We totally made tacos. Oh, it's not really beef. People just ask me my opinions on stuff. It's like YouTubers versus victims' families, which I mean, I have questions about the Goncalveses, but damn, they bring that shit real life and that ain't cute. Like they completely forgot there's a child that they need to be looking for. It's gross. 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 But yeah, that's it, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the super stickers. Thank you for the donated memberships. And just above all, thank you for being here and having a discussion with me because this is how we think better. And it's awesome. You guys have a great night. I will see you guys tomorrow. See y'all.